Good afternoon and welcome to Stand Up for Jehovah. Today I'm going to talk to you about being gay. Now this is really relevant because I've never been a male homosexual Jehovah's Witness, so I really know what I'm talking about. Just like a fat kid in a class, there was always one gay kid at Kingdom Hall. And everybody knew he was gay. You could spot the gay kid because he was the singularly most beautiful child in the hall, with the most fabulous bone structure and a particularly sensitive nature that made him gentle and kind and a particularly receptible to being brutalised by what was going on at Kingdom Hall, way more than the other kids got brutalised. So as well as having to deal with all the usual guff from the My Book of Bible horrors, he had to deal with all the homophobia on top of that, and also not understanding about himself and what was going on perhaps. Now, even though I knew that it was disgusting in the eyes of Jehovah, an abomination, I was never really that abominized by the gay kid because, you know, deep down, I really fancied him. In fact, I think it's safe to say that I fancied every gay kid in every congregation I ever visited. So the thing about this child was that while he spent his entire childhood in turmoil and angst trying to figure out what was going on, maybe dating the least offensive sister in the congregation, maybe even getting married and having kids, then feeling suicidal, having a midlife crisis, getting divorced, buying scented candles, and then finally admitting that he actually was homosexual. The rest of us knew he was gay from when he was 3. In fact, the only person that never knew he was gay was his own mother. And even though he now has a penthouse in a major city, drives a fabulous car, lives with a stockbroker called Adam, and they go to a spa in Bali 3 times a year, his mother still doesn't know that he's gay. It was in the rest of our interests to pretend that he wasn't gay, because there was a very small chance that we might get laid by this kid. And by laid, I mean hold his hand after field service and get married. So while I was busy pretending the child wasn't gay, and he was busy pretending he wasn't gay, so were the rest of the congregation. Now, how this child navigated his way through the issues of being a Jehovah's Witness, growing up in a cult, and being homosexual, I don't know. I think it must have been particularly hard because there were never really any that good-looking brothers in the Kingdom Hall. So it must have been really difficult. I think what he would do was probably date the most flat-chested sister he could find, and then either go through the process that I've described, or stay single and pioneer, in which case there was still a bit of hope for the rest of us sisters, and we all hung on, hoping that he'd just realised that he didn't fancy us yet, but he would do soon. Sometimes the brother went to Bethel and then you were screwed. He was absolutely gay if you went there. Now, like I say, I never really believed it was that bad. And I think there's something really odd about judging people based on the type of private sexual things they do in their own house. I mean, when I meet somebody at work new for the first time, I don't straight away start assessing what kind of sexual positions they take and who they do it with and which way and why and what the personal fantasies are. That doesn't come into my judgment of them at all. And yet somehow when it came to the homosexual person at Kingdom Hall, that's the first thing that you were encouraged to think. Ooh, what they do is disgusting. Well, you shouldn't be thinking that about, you shouldn't even be thinking that about people. Well, I certainly hope nobody thinks it about me when they look at, well, I don't know. Anyway, so like I say, I never really found it that abominable. And I still spouted all the stuff though. You know, I'd still come out with all the scriptures and say it all. But it didn't matter because there weren't any gay people at Kingdom Hall, were there? There were just brothers there that didn't realise they fancied me yet. But it did come home to me once when I got a Bible study, after I'd got married and I lived in Southampton. I actually got a Bible study with a young man and we went about 3 times and we took the books along and he bought the, you know, I'm Going to Die at Armageddon red book and all the rest of it. And we had about 3 studies and obviously he pressed me on this point, and I can tell you now, it was the most painfully awkward thing that I had to do, to sit there with my really nice kingdom smile on, reading the scriptures and telling him that yes, he was an abomination to God and that God would destroy him because of his sexual practices at Armageddon. And so, needless to say, the week after, when we turned up for the Bible study, his boyfriend came to the door and handed us all the books back and said, he doesn't want to study with you anymore. And you know, I could have kissed that man. Even though I still thought I was in the truth, I was so relieved that he'd finished his study with us, because I just thought, oh, thank God I can't ruin this young man's life anymore. I was just really grateful that it didn't go any further, because I can't imagine how guilty I would have felt at bringing someone in and then having to deny themselves their authentic self for the rest of their life. Now, of course, it's not a problem. I have lots of gay friends, and the real reason I have gay friends is not because I think, oh, they're so safe, I won't get sexually harassed when I'm with them, because actually when you're my age you'd quite like to be sexually harassed, and it's really disappointing when you don't get it. So the real reason that I have gay friends now is because they are singularly the most beautiful people I've ever put eyes on. And a little part of me is still thinking that I might be able to get laid by one. And by laid, I mean hold the hand after field service and get married. Thank you for listening to another episode of Stand Up for Jehovah.